want me to change, they want me to change, but I ain't changing, nah. I remain the same.
And you are now tuned into another episode of Intellectually Petty Radio brought to you by M3S3 Clothing. Men make moves and suckers stand still. And you already know, man, with the mighty Nerd DJs Radio Network. Yo, man, every week, every week, every fucking week. I keep telling y'all, man, I only rock with legends around here, and today is absolutely no exception. Matter of fact, he's such a huge fucking legend. We had to do the show on Friday. You feel what I'm saying? We got the one and only House Shoes coming to the show, man. How you doing, bro?
Good, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yo, man, how's life? How's your family?
Family is good. The kids are always better than any of us.
Oh man, being a kid is dope.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep them kids as long as they can be.
Oh,
It's harder to stay young these days than it was when we was around.
oh my God, man. What? So you grew up in what? Southfield?
Yep, absolutely.
Went to Lathrop?
Yep, 100%.
The bougie school in Southfield.
It was cool, man. Good spot. I mean, I'm super grateful. Very melting pot, very multicultural. You know what I mean? You can't really have feelings against a specific group of people if you grew up with all of them. You know what I mean?
I feel you on that one, man. What was the first album you bought?
The first album I bought was Three Little Pigs. You asked, bro. I mean, I was probably like, 3-4 years old or some shit.
And you bought an album at that age, though.
Oh, yeah. My parents were both very musically inclined. You know what I mean? I would come home from school. Mom would be cleaning the house, and it would be anything from Miles Davis to Steely Dan to, just the complete spectrum. And it was all good shit. You know what I mean? Frank Sinatra, Stevie Wonder, you know what I'm saying? So music was always a part of my life. But the first hip hop record I ever bought was Skinny Boys, Weightless.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A day will I... Oh, come on, man. Oh, my God. Oddly, the first one I bought, my mother bought for me, was the Fat Boys.
Word up.
Oh, man. I used to be such a Fat Boys fiend.
Hell yeah. We used to argue about who was the best beatbox. You know what I mean? Whether it was Jockbox or Human Beatbox, Ready Rock C, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince beatbox. It was...
Yo, that dude was crazy.
Super crazy. Underwater and backwards and all that shit. You know what I mean?
How he doesn't get mentioned is it's like Dougie Fresh and the Human Beatbox and then everybody else.
Right.
Oh, man, that cat was crazy.
Absolutely.
Why hip hop though, man? What was it about hip hop that made you fall in love?
Man, it was very immediate. You know what I mean? I was big into music. Of course, it was the more pop shit, the shit that, you hear. I always listen to like America's Top 40, Casey Kasem on Sundays and shit. You know what I mean? But when I was in 5th grade, this cat, Ron Garrison, moved to Southfield from New York. His uncle was Father MC. You know what I mean? And he had all the tapes. He had Houdini, Run DMC, Ice-T, Fat Boys, all of that shit. And it just struck me. I can't really tell you what it was. That shit just struck me in my heart. And I was like, this is what the fuck I'm on now. And I was very, very tunnel vision. Like, I didn't fuck with no rock shit. I didn't fuck with no pop shit. Nothing. It was just straight tunnel vision. Rap life.
Yo, your favorite record store at that time?
Growing up, Harmony House, Musicland, over by Service Merchandise off Southfield and 12 Mile, and Peaches. Like, when my parents got divorced when I was young, so I would go over to my pop's crib on the weekend, and we'd go to Peaches every weekend, and he'd let me pick a tape or a couple 45s or something. You know what I mean?
Yo, that is some dope shit right there. I'm gonna be honest. My mother was on board with hip hop from day one, but I never went record shopping with her.
The funny thing is, when they started putting the stickers on the tapes and the records, I would get on my bike, I would ride up to Musicland, and I was driving to go get LL Cool J Bad, and Martine, the manager, who was very pivotal in just feeding me and guiding me to where I am these days, you know, just putting me up on all the dope shit. She was like, man, like, you got to bring your mom now. Like, your mom's got to say it's okay. Rode my bike straight back home, got in the car with moms. We went right back up there. And she was like, listen, I'm not coming up here every time. I trust him. I'm not tripping. It's music. Let him get whatever he wants.
Yo, that's in such an inspirational way that it's a beautiful thing to hear.
Absolutely. And we can't trip on our kids just because we don't like it. We don't need to put ourselves onto our children. You know, my son's favorite rapper is Doom. Like, I passively guided my son. I wasn't like banging on him like, this is that shit. You know, I want my children to form their own minds. But just passively it happens. Both my kids love music and they love what they love.
Now, hip hop wise, musically wise, you could say, with you, it's been a certain lane.
Yeah.
Boom bap. Would that be fair to say?
I like to call it progressive traditional.
Okay, but with that being said, who defines what hip hop is?
Hip hop.
Is that a dope way of not answering?
Nah, I mean, the listener don't. That's for damn sure. The artists and the creatives do. You know what I mean? The ones that are grounded in the traditional aspects of the culture are the ones that define it. The ones that push it forward also. You respect the past, but you push towards the future. You know what I mean?
Okay, like
I don't want just a bunch of rehashed fucking old school shit. I want to hear a new spin on the roots of it. You know what I mean?
And I think that, like, especially like our generation, the pushback is that this generation is not hip hop. And that's not fair to them to not be able to define what hip hop is for them.
Well, at the same time, it does have to have, like, as soon as people started telling me that it's important to have a melody in your record and all that shit, I was like, man, get the fuck out of here. I don't, you know, I never aimed for the charts. I never aimed for success. I aimed for good music. You know what I mean? And there is an argument there, I would say. It all came from hip hop, but is it? I mean, it feels like a lot of the contemporary shit is getting further and further away from where it came from. It's all aimed towards financial success and everybody liking your record. And that never made sense to me. I always felt like I used, you know, I ain't made beats in 15 years. But whenever I made a beat, it was 100% personal. I never wanted to make a record that everybody liked because, you know, it's a lot of water in that glass to make something that everybody likes. All the greatest things that have popped off, like pop culture hit records, it was almost accidental in my opinion. You know what I mean? They didn't shoot for that. They were just trying to make a record that they really loved and everybody else happened to love it too.
The 80s, the 70s, and 80s, I'm definitely with you on that.
Right.
The 90s became more intentional.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was an immediate shift in hip hop, excuse me. Like when money became the goal, the art went out the fucking window. You know what I mean? I tell people I remember the day that shit changed. I don't remember a lot because I drink a lot when I DJ because I have anxiety issues and shit. So I got to get as far as possible out my head. I don't want to be thinking. I want it to be just stream of consciousness. You know what I mean? And the third Friday in May, it's funny because people talk about late 90s, 2000s is when shit went left. It was the third Friday in May of 1996. And it wasn't that something overtly changed. It was just that next week there was something missing. And that thing that was missing just grew larger and larger every week. And then one Friday I looked up from the turntables and it's a room full of white kids.
You know what's crazy? I had A+ on the show.
Right.
And he said that he was literally in Jive's office when the call came down about the shift in music.
Right.
When it went from, you know, we can explore every emotion in our existence to we can only explore one, anger.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is, it went from people at labels being like, "This is a great record, we want to put this out," to like, "This is a great record, but we can't sell it."
Mm.
You know what I mean? They used to have artist development, and now they just wait for fully formed artists that have never performed a fucking show in their life, but they got all the numbers behind them, and they have to do less work. It's already proven itself. Labels are lazy. The music industry is a fucking train wreck, and I look forward to the day that shit is. I could put it in my ashtray.
You still got your record company.
I still own Street Corner Music, but I definitely put that shit on the shelf because I'm not impressed. It's personal with me. I don't put out records for anybody else but myself. I've had very influential people in the game tell me that I have the best ears. They call me golden ears. I didn't give myself that name. Other people gave me that name. You know what I mean? Shoes, you got the best ears from the streets to the boardroom to the studio. And it's kind of frustrating because if that's the truth, motherfucker, give me a job. Let's change this shit. You know what I mean?
Okay. And shout out to my manager, the lady with the golden ear. But let me ask you this. Okay, so who have you groomed to replace you?
Nobody.
How is that fair to hip hop?
I can only do what I can do. You know what I mean? And you can't. I have an inherent pair of great ears. I wasn't taught how to hear dope records. I just hear them. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to do the best that I can do whenever I can do it to spread heat. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the only one. There's others. But just like we didn't pass on to the kids what we were doing back in the day. Hindsight is 2020. But I feel people that see me and just the way I move without any of the evil of the industry in me, that's the greatest example. The way I teach people is,
Mm-hmm.
just doing what I do.
Okay, and I'm not gonna beat you over the head with Dilla questions. Well, I have two.
Word up.
The first time you met Dilla, and what was it about him that inspired a nation everywhere except Detroit?
Oh, great question. I met Dilla. I was working at Street Corner Music, 1994. Feels like maybe it was like fall of 19, like 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Clean dress cat came in, digging through records. We chopped it up for a second. I handed him some shit. He definitely had the eye and the ear. He was picking great records, and he was at the listening station in the back. And I didn't know at that point in time, but every once in a while he would take the headphones off and just kind of zone out, kind of start like beatboxing some drums and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't know at that point is the beat was made already.
Mm.
Like it was, and he could execute it as well. I've heard Pete Rock tell stories about how he would hear beats in his dreams and he would be frustrated that he couldn't bring them to fruition. Jay was the one. Jay, in my opinion, is the greatest translator of source material in our era. He could do things with records that, almost 20 years later, people still can't do it. If these beat tapes from fucking 25 years ago came out tomorrow, people would be bugging out. And the reason, it was a very, the Detroit hip hop community was such a fucking micro community back in the day. We was the weirdos. Yeah. You had St. Andrews on a Friday. You had Legends next door. Legends was Detroit.
Legends was definitely Detroit.
We was the fucking weirdos. They was like, what's that shit you listening to? What's that shit you wearing? We were kind of outcasts.
You know what
I mean?
I'm sorry to cut you off, but the hip hop weren't the weirdos. It was the fact that there were 3 levels at St. Andrews.
Yeah.
And only one was hip hop.
Right.
I think the other one was all. So it was basically a bunch of white people.
Yeah. Well, the main floor was definitely not super white. But the ill shit about the 3 floors is the top floor was house and techno.
Mm-hmm.
The basement was alternative. Main floor was hip hop, but it was all forward. It was all progressive. Like cats was trying to play the new records. So you had a crowd. Half of them might have been just regular motherfuckers, but the other half was people that came to hear that new shit. And you got this intermingling of 3 floors of people that loved all different kinds of music that were made available to all different forms of music at the same time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And my bad, I interrupted you.
No, you good. You good. But yeah, about the community, everybody was shooting their shot. You know what I mean? I mean, Slum was definitely, I mean, you got to understand that they were the top of the food chain at that time. They were those were the shows that people were, it was a lot of dope groups, but Slum was more fully formed than everybody. Jay's production was just fucking incredible. And, you know, it's a lot of haters in Detroit. And a lot of people that now say that, you know, Dilla, they was mad I wasn't playing their records. They was mad because I never did favors. If your record's dope, I'll play it. But if it's not, I'm not sacrificing 3 minutes of the party so your dick can grow like half an inch longer. You know what I mean? I'm not doing. I used to tell homies like, hey man, get a beat. Like, you know, I'm a very aggressive motherfucker. I'd be like, get a beat from Jay. I guarantee you I'll at least play the instrumental.
I'm so fucking petty.
But it's real. You know what I mean? I'm very aggressive when I take that stance, not even necessarily with Dilla, but just in music, period. I'm very aggressive with it. I'm lighter than I used to be, but I used to judge beat battles and shit, and I would tell kids, you know, don't ever make a beat again in your life. And there's going to be 2 results from that. You're either going to stop making beats,
or you're going to get better.
Or you're going to fucking get better. And I guarantee you the majority of the time, they took that fire I put up under them, and they made a better beat the next time they turned the box on.
Give me 3 moments from St. Andrews that just stick out to you.
Oh, man. When my homie knocked out a skinhead one night, that was great. Not music related, but that's one of my greatest moments.
Kind of want to hear that story. Just saying.
You know, it was a little pack of skinheads in there one night, and I'm talking to my homie Magnetic, actually, who was an engineer at the Disc on the East Side for damn near the last 30 years. Had his hands on probably the majority of local rap records and some national records that have come out. And we had talked about it, and we're talking about it in real time at that moment. And he turns around and he sees the fucking skinhead. Their eyes meet, and the skinhead just starts running towards him. And my homie just fucking took the batteries out of his back. Like, I ain't never seen somebody get slumped like that in my life. It was exciting, you know. Violence isn't always the best thing, but when you see a fucking skinhead get slumped,
it's not a bad look.
You got knocked the fuck out. You know what I mean? I was running around the club. I was charged up. So that's one. Another one would probably be, you know, Eminem era. He had just came back from Cali. I feel like Slim Shady LP might be dropping like the following Tuesday. I would get records a little early via promo or going to Angot, mom and pop's distributor on Puritan and Linwood. And Africa Bambaataa was supposed to play that night. But, you know, M came in and I was playing the record. M ran from the top of the club, jumped up on stage, carrying me across the stage. And it was just, you know, one of the first times that I saw somebody really have their moment. You know what I mean? And the promoter that brought Bambaataa was like, stop playing that white boy shit. And I was just another one. And the energy raises up. And then another one. And the energy raises up. And I went to Bambaataa and I was like, no disrespect, OG. But like, our city's having a moment right now. You know what I mean? And he wasn't tripping. And that promoter got his fucking ass whooped that night. And that was great too. This violence and all this shit.
You know, you sound like a Hex story.
Oh, Hex. That's probably number 3 would have to be Hex just fucking slumping a homeless person asking for change every Friday right in the middle of Congress. Hex was a maniac. Hex had a huge water bottle that would always be filled with vodka. And yeah, man. God bless Hex, man. I love that motherfucker.
If there is one person in Detroit hip hop, yeah, actually I would do two that deserves their own movie / documentary. It's Proof and Hex.
Absolutely.
The world knows Proof. Motherfuckers don't know Hex and the story. Like,
Right.
yo,
Yeah, me and Hex are very similar, except I'm just not as violent. You know what
not
I
too
mean?
many people are. From
Just
what I
being
hear.
just being the glue. You know what I mean? Being the glue, and one of the things that just keeps the whole scene together. Hex is a very strong bridge between the streets and the hip hop scene. You know what I mean? And like hood rap shit and the hip hop shit. You know what I mean? He put in the work. He cared about it.
Mm.
Still does.
How many albums have you personally put out?
Almost 100. Yeah, Street Corner Music, 10 years. I put out 84 records. And then, just my various releases and compilations prior to that.
Which ones do you still listen to?
All of them.
Really?
They're all personal. You know what I mean? Like, this is music that I love, and I come from the cloth. I never understood how somebody that is in it, that listens to all dope shit, how can you not make something good? How come you're not listening to your music just like you listen to all the shit that you love so much, and you can't tell that that's not the bar to reach? I always held myself accountable to everything else that I loved.
What artist and or producer set the bar for you?
Jay, man. JD, 100%. Just being there in real time and watching him just conquer spaces and just conquer another space. And all these motherfuckers are biting me. Well, I'm going to get on this shit now, and he'd be the best at that. You know what I mean?
Okay, let me ask you that in a different way. Outside of Detroit.
Primo, Pete Rock, Madlib, Knots. Primo, Pete, and Madlib's like kind of the holy trinity for me outside of Detroit.
What about Alchemist?
Alchemist is dope, but Alchemist is definitely in that top tier now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But those are like the fathers of this shit to me. You know what I mean? Like Al comes from like like he started off kind of primo-ish, but he's definitely found his own shit. And the one thing I love about Alchemist is how he was like, I'm not chasing anymore. I'm going to make the records that I want to make. I'm not looking for I'm not chasing placements and none of that shit. I'm not getting caught up in any of this bullshit.
So he's basically another you.
Or I'm another him, or we're just, kindred spirits.
Yeah. And that dude, man, like, it's hard. Who captures the best sample for you?
Oh, Jay, 100%. Because he fucked with so many things that people wouldn't touch. You know what I mean? And he could just make that shit move. He just, whether it's, sometimes you think some shit that's chopped up is a loop because it's so seamless. Or sometimes you think some shit that's a loop is chopped up. You know what I mean? Like his ear was so progressive and he made himself available to damn near any kind of music. I see, multiple times he'd be at the cash register at the record shop and there would be something playing and he'd be like, yo, can I get that? So it wasn't always, he was just available. Like it was crazy.
What do you miss most about producing?
I never made a beat for anybody but myself. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, I'm not a very religious person. This hip hop shit is my religion. So like that was just like, me being in church, me paying my respects, and just trying to pay tribute to that bar, man. Just trying to make heat. I love making beats. I'm gonna get back to it. I've been itching a lot. I'm waiting for the 3000. I got my MPC 3000 in the shop, getting the buttons all replaced and shit. So I'm gonna get back on it, but you know, y'all might never even hear it because I'm selfish. It's just for me.
What MC found your production pocket the best?
Uh, Elzai on the early end,
Mhm.
and on the later end, probably Danny Brown.
Another cat that Detroit just.
Well, I mean, he was different. We fucking loved him. I mean, Detroit is not a hip hop city.
You know who oddly I had the same complaint that he didn't get the love in Detroit that he thought he should? Bodie.
Right. And you know, it's trap shit. It should hit because it's the
Exactly.
same shit that all the street motherfuckers is talking about, but it's just more musical. You know what I mean? The musicality of a lot of the hip hop shit, I feel, is where the streets miss it because they need something simpler. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to think like who was the last artist that was the last big artist who was right in the middle of that pocket as far as the street shit and the musicality.
I feel like Stretch Money is incredibly overlooked because he rides that line. He can make a street anthem and he can make a dope ass hip hop record too.
I would have never guessed Stretch.
Oh, Stretch is fantastic. I love Stretch.
Oh, and matter of fact, and you know, I got a little ADHD. Back to Elzai a little bit. What was the joint he made? Basically the Ilma,
Oh, the Elmatic.
the Elma. Oh my,
That was my idea.
really?
We was on tour in Europe. We was driving through Prague at sunrise, and it just hit me. Elmatic. It just popped into my head. I was like, and I had it fully formed in like 10 seconds. Like, get all the OG beats, L rhymes on them, keep the cadences, keep the movement of the original songs, but with all his words in place.
Mm-hmm.
And the icing on the cake was when Will Sessions shot to Sam Bobby, and when Will Sessions replayed all the beats, and it definitely made it a singular thing, which is crazy because how the fuck can you make another version of what is lauded as the greatest hip hop album of all time, and it stands damn near next to it? You know what I mean?
Depending on the day, it may be better.
There you go. Especially for us in the city.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. When I heard that shit, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like
Mind blowing.
This is.
Yeah, the transitions, how they wrote out some of the joints. You know what I mean? Like,
And the level of difficulty for Elzai is way worse than Nas.
well, Elzai is Nas in the city. He is the Nas of Detroit, absolutely. Except with a better ear for beats.
So who would Royce be then?
Man, Royce is a fucking warrior. Royce is, in my opinion, like his second movement has been so incredible. Like he was always trying to have a hot record. You know what I mean? And when he said, fuck all that shit, you about to get this real life rap shit, vulnerability, you know what I mean? It was so exciting to see that pivot for him. You know what I mean?
When he got sober, his ear got so much better.
Absolutely.
And I've never seen that on any genre of any time.
Yeah, usually a motherfucker lose the magic when they go clean.
They lose the pocket. If nothing
what I
else,
mean?
they can still write a good song. They can still technically do shit, but they lose that that pocket. And for Royce, it was the opposite.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's one of the best rappers ever in the world. As is Elzai.
Really? Who else? Who else do you listen to? Like, give me somebody. Matter of fact, give me a street guy that you listen to.
Mozzie.
Oh, Mozzie, so fuck. Now with Mozzie, I think him signing to a major, it just something changed a little bit.
A little bit, but the majority is still there. I mean, I just, I got to feel something in your record.
Yeah.
That's what's important to me, whether it's, even when I make beats, I either want to make a record that makes you want to punch somebody in the face or cry yourself to sleep. It's the two complete opposite ends of the spectrum, but it's a feeling. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yo, Mozzie, man, like, for me, definitely in his generation, definitely top three. And I'm only saying top three just to give myself room in case I want to change because I don't know anybody better.
Yeah, I mean, Mozzie and Nip, to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was unfortunate that Nip really
Oh,
was.
I feel like he was the most valuable rapper that ever existed. I feel he was more valuable than if you put Big and Pac together. Like
Really?
what he had to offer musically and then culturally. You know what I mean? Like the things that he was showing people, the lessons that he was teaching in his records and in his day-to-day life. You know what I mean?
I would think that would increase Pac's value.
Yeah, but look how quick Pac got up out of here from the dumps. Like Nip wasn't on the dumb shit.
Well,
Even the day he got taken out, he was trying to help a motherfucker. You know what I
well,
mean?
he was with the shits too, though. Like,
Oh, absolutely,
absolutely.
absolutely. But you could tell he was moving from the streets because he knew his
Yeah.
value, and
Yeah.
ain't nobody valuable when they're in the ground.
But I think I think that he was absolutely a student, not of just hip hop, but of life.
Absolutely.
And to study Tupac, you can see a lot of the similarities in the two. It's just he took it to a more advanced level.
Yeah, I feel it's the opposite though, because I feel like he allowed the darkness to take over, and that's why he's not here anymore.
Tupac.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it's fucked up because I never met Nip. You know what I mean? And after he passed, I talked to a few of the homies that fuck with Nip, and they was like, "Y'all never met?" And they was like seriously frustrated. They were like, "Fuck, man, he would have loved you. Y'all like the same fucking person."
Mm.
When I first linked up with Mike and Keys, we had been chasing each other for a couple years, missing each other. And a month after Nip passed, I'm in the studio, sitting in Nip's chair, and they got a fucking Dilla doll right to the next to the board. And Mike looks at me and goes, "First thing Nip would do coming in the studio is dap up Dilla every time." And I'm like, "Man, get the fuck out of here, dog." Like,
Really?
what? And then he looks me in my face and he says, "We want to do an instrumental record on Street Corner Music."
Let me ask you this: when was the last moment you had musically where you were like, "I can't believe this shit's happening to me," in a good way?
Man, every fucking time I play records.
Really?
Bro,
To this day.
this is my life. How many people are allowed to do what they love and for it to sustain their existence and their children's existence? You know what I mean? I don't cater. I'm the example of like, fuck off. I play the shit that I like. No requests. Look at the shirt. You know what I mean? Like, this shit is uncut. It's pure over here. And I'm grateful because I can be a very divisive person. People either love me or they hate me. And I'm cool with that because either way, you in your feelings.
You always been that way?
For the most part, I used to break records on stage at St. Andrews on Friday nights. When shit started getting whacked, the way before social media, I would talk my shit is, this record is terrible. I'd play it for a few seconds and I'd smash that bitch on the fucking stage and then play some heat after it.
Who were you wrong about, artist wise?
Nobody. You know what I mean? I mean, it's personal. I like what I like, and I don't like what I don't like. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool for motherfuckers to like what I don't like, and for me to not like what they like. We all living our lives. It's, you know what I mean? This ain't like Battle for Asgard.
You You silly, bro. So was there an MC out there who, in your mind, would never make it past the underground status and somehow turn their brand of hip hop into a success and didn't change?
Mm, can you name one? I can't really think of any because it's either ultra success or no success. You know what I mean? I mean,
Probably Redman.
I have not felt any of this shit, man. Like I love Redman, but like it's just rapping now. You know what I mean? Like Muddy Waters 2 without an Eric Sermon beat on it. I'm not looking forward to that. Just keeping it a buck. I'm not. You know what I mean? All these records just sound like rapping. Like I feel like he does a lot better with one producer. Everything else just sounded like kind of random drops. You know what I mean? I mean, he's definitely better than a lot of people, but
he ain't the best Redman.
It just ain't. It ain't nothing in the middle of it. It's kind of empty to me. You know what I mean?
Kinda like it's like seeing your favorite player who averaged 35 their whole career average 25. They still getting buckets.
Right.
They still better than most of the people.
But they're not winning games.
But they're not who they supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah. Although Redman is I think Redman is one of the few elder statesmen who
I mean, but he ain't put a record out in fucking 20 years that anybody's paid attention to. So where's the success that you're talking about? You know what I mean? He's still relevant.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say he's successful.
You got a point there. I guess I. Man, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I would say like maybe Rock Marciano. You know what I mean? Because wasn't nobody paying attention when Marsburg dropped, and now the entire underground hip hop scene is a branch of that tree that he planted. The whole loop, you know, no drums and shit, grimy, and yeah, I would say Rock.
Black Milk and Guilty Simpson.
Right.
How dope.
Oh, chairman of the boards. You know what I mean? Black Milk definitely took the lead when Jay passed, and Guilty has just been the general since the Lush Lounge. You know, he was the Lush legend at open mics at the Lush Lounge fucking 24 years ago, 23 years ago. And he's always held his stature. You know what I mean? He's still the one. Mm-hmm. And I ain't never heard a Whack Guilty verse. I've never heard a Whack Guilty verse. I might have heard him on a beat that was like, beat's kind of but he doesn't waste his time with the pen.
That's a compliment right there.
And seeing Black evolve and taking elements from contemporary music, and they're all good records. They're all really good records. It might be a record that's not really my flavor, but I can definitely admit that it's a fucking good song. You know what I mean?
And I kind of skipped over Danny Brown a little bit. Cause I don't.
Danny is the fucking unicorn, man.
I'm getting ready to ask you, like, what is? I don't think that Danny Brown also gets the respect necessarily that he deserves. Impact alone on music, Danny Brown has impacted the world.
I mean, the way music is now, you know, it's here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
People's memory retention is kind of fucking ass. You know what I mean? And it's like, what have you done for me lately? Type shit.
Yeah.
I remember when I DJ'd the Hot Soup release party at the sushi joint, Oslo, in the basement. And it was maybe 70 people there. Mm-hmm. Half of the people in the room already knew all the records, and the other half were complete rookies, virgins, unfamiliar, 100%. Mm-hmm. 2 records in, you couldn't tell the difference. You couldn't tell the difference. The entire crowd was they were bursting into fucking flames. Mm-hmm. It was one of the most exciting moments in my career. You know what I mean?
Best concert you've ever been to?
Oh man, best hip hop concert.
No, in concert period. I don't care who it was.
Oh man, current events. Hiatus Coyote. Um, hip hop events. I'd say it's a tie between the 10-year anniversary of Blue and Exile's album out here, the Below the Heavens album out here. They had a string section, they had a choir, they had a live band, and Exile had the MPC. Like, I'm not a fan of like live band shit in hip hop
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot that gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not talking about the Roots because that's their whole
That's who
shit.
they
They're
are,
fucking
yeah.
fantastic.
Oh,
But
just
but
gotta throw that
Exile
out there. Black Thought is never welcome on the show, but go ahead.
Exile had his MPC on the stage also, so he's triggering the samples along with the live band, and it was just, yeah, I'm getting goosebumps. The other one would be the Roots do like an all-star kind of jam session thing every year out here, and they had a weekend at Novo at LA Live, and they did a Dilla tribute. Amir hit me up to DJ, open it up, and it was everybody that, all the top shelf motherfuckers that Jay fucked with in his career, from Badu, Common, Tribe, Farside, Slum Village, Busta Rhymes, like literally everybody. Unbelievable. And for some reason, Lauryn Hill was on the show too. I wasn't really a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of that. And that's when I saw her be a piece of shit in real time. Like, she's a terrible person. God bless y'all, Queen, but she's a fucking piece of shit. Sorry.
Okay, but why?
So everyone's just doing like 1 or 2 songs, right?
Okay.
Maybe 3 tops. So the sound checks are like 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops.
Mm-hmm.
She checked her band for like 90 minutes and disrespected every member. I thought you knew how to play the bass. You know what I mean? Like, just, I was like, wow, all that shit is true.
Yo.
Just awful.
Oh man, I hate shit like that.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
say never meet your idols. Yo, what's next for you, bro?
I'm trying to figure it out. I had a rough year. You know what I mean? My pops passed last year, and the label just, one of the fears that I feel a lot of us have is just waking up tomorrow and your heart ain't there anymore. You know what I mean? And I'm, like I said, I'm just really unimpressed. Like, you got to impress me to get a record. And the last time I heard a person that I wanted to put a record out on was Soundtrack, and that was damn near 5 years ago. So trying to figure it out, trying to see, consulting, music supervision. I'm very good at this. You know what I mean? Even every record on Street Corner Music is not a record that somebody turned into me. I don't take your record. You start sending folders. I put the record together. I pick all the beats. I sequence the record. I get an idea for artwork. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful that all these people have trusted me and respected me to be a part of their catalog. You know what I mean?
Now here's a question I ask everybody that comes on the show. You're sitting on a park bench, and God sits down next to you and says you can ask him one question. What would it be?
Can't you do this a little better?
You almost made me spit my wine out, man.
I'm not super religious. I believe that there is something else. I don't believe in afterlife and all that shit. I believe that people should be taught that you got one fucking shot. You close your eyes and it's over with. Because if you raise people thinking that like there's something else, they ain't gonna put their foot in the shit. You know what I mean? I'd probably be like, man, like, what's up with all the bullshit?
Yo, It's
Like
hard.
you
It's
got
just,
what's up on them fucking 100,000 kids in Palestine? Like that's you did that.
is it hard dealing with people who don't have the same mindset as you?
It's not hard. It's just kind of lonely.
I can. Oh, I know the feeling.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't try to fit in. I'm not trying to. I ain't on no regular shit. I'm on top shelf shit, and top shelf shit only really reverberates with top shelf people. And there's a lot of low frequency motherfuckers that
Not everybody can afford the top shelf.
I've lost friends because all of a sudden they're making music, and all that we used to just chill and smoke and listen to other people's music, and now every time they come over, they just want me to they want to play their shit, and I'm like, bro, like we don't like, nah, bro, that's not what this is. I'm not here to be your fucking A&R. I ask you to press play. You don't come over and press play unless I ask you.
It's that difficult to filter out the people that want your ears and not you.
Right. Walking up like this with their hand out. What can you do for me? I can't do nothing for you, man.
Where you get the shirt from?
The homie Chris in Brooklyn. It's a bar called Beer Wax. And he pressed these up. My homie Shot the Track Star, DJ for Run the Jewels. That's the homie. He's got a brand called Rap Fan. He's got one too that says no request, please.
I like that, man. Yo, I can't possibly thank you enough for stopping by, though, bro.
No doubt, man. I'm grateful. Grateful to be here, man.
This has been a beautiful conversation, man. Before we go, the next generation, any advice on how to keep hip hop alive?
Your heart got to be in it. It's got to be personal. It's not a 9 to 5. The best music comes from people that care about making great music. And there's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5 in the music shit. If you just want to make regular shit and be popular and all that shit, that's cool. But I never press play on anything that I don't have genuine love and respect for. So you got to love and respect yourself and have the fucking wherewithal to grab your nuts and do what the fuck you want to do. As soon as you start second guessing yourself, like I got a record label, right? As soon as I start worrying about like streaming, I don't give a fuck about marketing, promotion, none of that shit. It's an independent label. There's no budget. A PR budget for a record costs more than the record is going to sell. And as soon as my brain pivots to all that fuck shit, my whole career is over with. You feel me?
Man.
So I'm riding this bitch out.
But, yo, if don't nobody tell you today, though, man, I'm proud of you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you for your contribution, not only to hip hop, but more specifically to Detroit hip hop.
Yes, sir.
If motherfuckers in Detroit, hip hop, no shoes. If they don't know shoes, they know shoes.
I'm grateful for that because I've been gone damn near 20 years, and that makes me feel that I made all the right decisions every time. You know what I mean?
I got a chance to interview DJ Fingers not too long ago, too.
Fire. Shout to Fingers. I used to date his sister.
But as far as
no, Fingers a good dude, man. Like when Jay got the kidney shit started happening with Jay, like Fingers he filled in a lot of the blanks for him, like about dialysis and all that shit.
Yo, but as far as like for me growing up, like from going to the dancery when I was 17, 16, shit like that.
Yep.
Like there's a couple of cats over the years that have defined my era of Detroit.
Right.
Musically, and I don't mean like artists, but DJs or producers. And yo, you in Fingers?
Yeah. He's a beast. He's a beast.
Oh, Anyway, on that note, man, I cannot possibly thank you enough. This has been an honor beyond honors, man. Um, if there's anything I can possibly do for you, I don't know what, but if there is, please don't hesitate to let me know, and I got you.
You just did it, bro. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I appreciate you, man.
Yo, that was very dope, man. And shout out to y'all that tapped in today, that will tap in tomorrow, and of course tap in 100 years and making my great grandkids some money. So enjoy your shit and enjoy the greatness that is house shoes.
No, respect, man. Like these are documents, and this shit
Absolutely,
matters. You know what I mean?
absolutely. And hopefully I did you justice, and like
No, this is a great interview, brother. Absolutely.
yeah, I don't be in the fuck
I
shit,
always
bro.
go into interviews. I'll be like, "Fuck it." I hope it ain't because I've done the same interview like 50 times probably. This was not one of those same interviews.
And I try. I'm intentional about that.
Yeah.
Like and I know I probably they'd be like, well, you should have asked more about. Fuck that. Go listen to the other shit.
Right. Or
Because
do your own fucking interview, homie.
exactly.
You
And I
know
don't
what
want
I
to
mean?
ask you the same shit. That there's a couple of things that like I'm gonna, but generally speaking, I don't want to ask the same shit that everybody else asks.
Right.
Anyway, well, you know what? It's kind of the same thing. If I can't fuck with it, I can't fuck with it.
Right.
On that note, man, you have a phenomenal day on purpose,
Word up.
and enjoy the weather, man.
Much
Appreciate you.
respect.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
You have a good one.
Peace.
Yo, that's fucking dope, man. It is not too often that you get, especially for me, one of the absolute legends of Detroit. House shoes, man. Yo, if you have not done your homework and I didn't do a good enough job, please, it's okay. I fucks up sometimes. Go do a better job on your own and find some, because my man deserves all the accolades that can be bestowed on him. All right, so next week we got Kamal Smith coming on, and we got Bronco McCart. So I'll see y'all Thursday, and let's be on location out of town. Anyway, this is Jobs. It's been another episode of Intellectually Petty Radio. Y'all have a good one. I'm out.